I was reading this new book by Ron Carlson. It's called Ron Carlson Writes a Story. He's a fiction writer. And he says that the main challenge is you have to want to read what you're writing. You have to write something that you absolutely would put down your life in order to read. And I thought about that a lot yesterday in advance of our conversation, because he's not saying that you would just go to this anthology and find a short story and think, oh my gosh, it's wonderful. He means in the actual moment, like as you're writing, you feel as though you are reading it. It pre-exists. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's so exciting. So that's the challenge, is to be on that edge where you don't exactly know what's coming next, but you can follow the scent of it and you know it's good. That's the sweet spot, and that's where I always want to be. That's the challenge. The practice effect of writing. This is what I preach in my classes. We were talking about this earlier. A lot of students will practice their sport. They'll practice dance. They know they have to practice their instrument, even if they're not doing it. They know they should. But they don't know that you have to practice writing, and I have to practice every day. I have this quote on my website by Pablo Casals. He was asked, he's like 91 years old, why do you play your piano every day? And he says, because I'm still seeing improvement. So it's that thing where you have to stay on speaking terms with your instrument. I think that there's so much fear that comes with this act, and that it doesn't matter if you're making a story or a poem or an essay. I think a piece of critical writing or a piece of science writing is just as sacred and just as difficult and just as beautiful as a poem or a play, something I would write. I don't think there's a real palpable difference between those acts, and there's so much fear that precedes that creative endeavor. And so what I would want young faculty to know is there are a lot of strategies available for managing the psychology of those moments. Staying in the room, not leaving the room. You can't leave the room. I think that just that dedicated fidelity to the space. And it's so easy to use our career as an excuse, all the stuff that we do here at Hope. And carving out that space, I think that's the most important thing that the young writer has to attend to. There are a lot of hours, it takes a lot of hours, and many of those hours are qualitatively unproductive hours. And so there's a sense, especially at Hope and in academia, if things aren't happening on the page, then I'm not ready to write, or I don't have time to write, or I don't know enough yet to write, or I'm not cut out for writing. So other stuff will fill in that space, and it's so important what I've learned to keep pushing that you don't have to write well every day. I have a little system where I have to write 1,500 words a day, and they have to be good words, and sometimes that takes a couple of days. It's not always going to feel good in order to be good, right? So that's what I know about it, is you still show up day after day after day, even if you aren't making obvious forward momentum, obvious if you're not working on the thing, if it's not coming together, you still have to show up for